Hey, DJ, what do you think is the craziest thing that's transpired over the last couple of days? Is it the fact that the Colts season might be over before it even started because of the injuries to Quenton Nelson and Carson Wentz? Or is it the fact that we learned that Deshaun Watson likes to get his oil checked?
Oh, God. I forgot about that part. Really caught me off guard. Well, as soon as Carson Wentz said to the Colts, we knew their season was over, so that was ended. But should we be surprised that Deshaun Watson likes to have a little finger in his butthole? Or his a little tongue in his butthole? Or whatever he likes in there?
I don't know. I don't know where to go from that. So I'm just going to open my beer and just try to drown my memories of whatever you just said there. So let's get loaded because this is the Loaded Box Podcast,
where we never finish first because we finish last.
Welcome back to another episode of the Loaded Box Podcast. Gonna have to slap the parental advisory sticker because DJ got a little kinky with the tongue there. Little, I don't even think that was part of the report, but here's DJ just throwing stuff out there. But before we get started with today's episode, we're going to continue our fantasy football preview episodes. We're going to highlight the 49ers and the Rams today. But let's take a quick second and talk about that Colts situation because everyone on Twitter is like, oh, my God, Jonathan Taylor's not a first-round running back anymore. This whole idea of playing with a backup quarterback and without one of the best guards in football is going to come back to haunt him. Mikey, is JT still a first-round running back for you, or are you kind of on this let's fade him wagon?
No, he's still perfectly fine. I mean, admittedly, I think I have him in the top 5 of my ranks. I might be bumping him down I have him as, I have him as number 3. I might have to bump him down maybe to 5 or 6 at this point because missing Quenton Nelson for half the season and the starting quarterback is kind of a big deal. But it's Jonathan Taylor. He looked great last year once he finally started to come on. It's not like Carson Wentz is a world-breaking quarterback as is. I mean, the biggest issue is that Quenton Nelson is no longer there. But all in all, it's still a pretty good line. I mean, they're going to be missing arguably the best center in the game. But it is what it is. Jonathan Taylor still got tons of skill, still a decent line. He'll be fine.
Yeah, they still got a good line. And remember, you got to bump other people up if you're bringing him down. So I just look at it like, man, if I'm in the back part of the first round and someone's going to let John Taylor slip to me and then I'm going to come back with him.
John Taylor. I've never heard anyone a thin from his name.
So we've been talking a little bit of Madison before this podcast, and just the fact of talking Madison, I kind of felt like I now know him. So
that was it.
Some people call him JT. I call him John Taylor. So I still think you could take John Taylor. And if you can come back with like Austin Eckler, man, give me that start to begin with. DJ, is he going to drop it all for you, or are you kind of leaving him?
I think it's a situation where like maybe he's going to have less yards per carry, but he's going to have more carries. So I think it might end up evening itself out in the long run. And I think he started to kind of get his feet. And like you said, I can't just write him off or drop him a bunch because of one guy. Obviously, one of the best offensive linemen in the league. But at the same time, if you think he's talented, I've always said a talented running back doesn't need their offensive line to do everything. If he's talented, he's going to still make plays. He's still going to score touchdowns. He's still going to get yards. So if he has that talent, which at times we were worried about it last year, he should still be able to put up top 10 numbers.
And that defense is going to keep them in games as well. So they're not going to abandon the run. Go ahead and keep drafting him. Like I said, we're going to preview the Rams and the 49ers today. If you missed any of the other episodes that we've been doing like this so far, we've covered the Vikings, Bears, Cowboys, and Giants. But let's kick it off with the quarterback of the Rams recently banged his thumb on a helmet. I'm not going to let that factor into anything right now. But his name is Matthew Stafford. It's one of DJ's favorite fantasy quarterbacks of all time. Going as the QB, what? Fantasy quarterback?
Just this year.
You've always been on the Stafford train.
Not this hard.
All right, not this hard. Deshaun Watson reference again. QB 13 going as the last pick in the 7th round. I've got him at 11. DJ's got him at 9. Mikey's got him at 10. DJ, the floor is yours to confess your love for Matthew Stafford this year, allegedly.
I don't even know if I have the bet in, but if I don't, I'm going to do it right while we're talking, kind of like I do during the football season. But I am going to, if I have it, Matt Stafford is going to be one of my future MVP bets for this year. So I'm super high. If Jared Goff can go to a Super Bowl, with the fucking Rams. I can't even imagine what Matt Stafford can do with this offense, with one of the top 5 defenses in the league. You got Aaron Donald and Jalen Ramsey. They can actually air it out. He can push it downfield. He's going to make I'm already obsessed with Robert Woods. I think we're going to see him break his own record of more passes over the middle. Cooper Kupp's going to be money this year. It's going to be great. I love Matt Stafford. Obviously, we don't have the rushing upside, but I think just off of just yards and touchdowns alone, I think he's going to go 35, touchdowns and 45 to 5,000 yards. Like, he's going to have a year.
No one has more made-up stats that sound like real stats than DJ, and that's one of my favorite things that you bring to this podcast. Mikey, you've got him at QB 10. The average draft position right now is at the end of the 7th round. We've talked about this in the past. You're one of those guys that'll wait and take a quarterback. Is the end of the 7th round about where you're taking Stafford? Do you like him, or would you prefer a different guy if you're taking a quarterback in this area?
It's so weird because I have Stafford as my QB 10, but taking him in the 7th round seems so early.
It does, a little bit, yeah.
But he's being drafted as the 13th quarterback off the board. I mean, I guess at that point I would have to kind of adjust the way I'm drafting if everyone else is going crazy on quarterbacks. I don't know. I mean, I don't think that I would buy him in the 7th round. I mean, I would definitely buy him as the 13th quarterback off the board, but putting it into terms that's the late 7th round, that's
weird.
That seems too rich for me. Like,
is that early, really?
Yeah, that, it really makes me question it because I feel like most drafts that I do, I mean, like, obviously, like, your Pat Mahomes and Josh Allen and whoever else, Lamar Jackson, they're all gone by like, the 3rd, 4th, 5th round. But I feel like 13 quarterbacks by the 7th round, that seems wild to me.
I mean, at this point, like, if you're taking him at that and everyone else has their quarterback, if he's like your number 2 and maybe you took like a Tom Brady or a Ryan Tannehill and you're doubling down and just going to play matchups or ride a hot hand, maybe that's it. But Mikey, you actually said exactly where I was going to go with that one, because I love him as the 13th quarterback off the board. But when the 13th quarterback is going in the 8th round already, it's like, Jesus, you're going to have to get to the party early if you want one of these quarterbacks, or you're going to have to wait for a guy like a Matt Ryan, Baker Mayfield. We talked about Kirk Cousins, about how you're potentially comfortable with him as your QB1. So I like Stafford. I'm comfortable with him being my QB1 this year. But the ADP, despite being the 13th quarterback, just seems a touch high.
Yeah, I completely agree. I mean, and he's got great weapons this year. I mean, Robert Woods and Cooper Kupp, what's his face, Van Jefferson, Deshaun Jackson is there. Darrell Henderson could be worse out of the backfield, I suppose. And then I'm a really big Tyler Higbee fan with Matt Stafford. So yeah, I mean, I would be comfortable with rolling with him as my QB1. I just don't know if I could pull the trigger that early.
Yeah, let's go into that running back because the room looks a lot different than we anticipated, obviously, with what was Cam Akers' ADP when he got hurt? I mean, he was going as like a high-end RB2, low RB1.
Cam Akers was like RB13, RB14. Yeah. Like he was up there. He was getting a fair amount of hype.
Yeah, he was. And Darrell Henderson had totally taken a back seat. Like, we were looking at him late in drafts, but his ADP has bumped up to RB25. That's the 3rd pick in the 6th round. We've recently updated our rankings. We're all right around those mid-20s. And then the only other running back that's right now being drafted is Xavier Jones, ADP of 57. So literally a dart toss at this point in time. I personally was loving the idea of getting Cam Akers this year. The idea of drafting Darrell Henderson just because you think that he's going to end up stepping into that Cam Akers role and just blow up and finish maybe as a low-end RB1, a high-end RB2. I don't think it is that simple. I don't think it's that clear cut. I think they might give other guys chances to succeed. They've used Henderson in the past, and they still drafted Akers as high as they did for a reason. So going in the 6th round, it's not like you're not throwing crazy high draft capital at him, but 3rd pick in the 6th round is too high for me. If that's where he's going in drafts, I'm not about that. Mikey, do you feel the same way, or do you have a different opinion than me?
Yeah, I feel the exact same way. I mean, Henderson he's shown spurts here and there over the last couple of years that he's been in the NFL, but I mean, there's a reason why they drafted Cam Akers. There's a reason why Malcolm Brown looked better than Henderson at the start of the season last year before Cam Akers came on. Like, Darrell Henderson, he's not bad, but I don't think he really has the confidence of the coaching staff, just based off of what we've seen over the last couple of years with his usage, with competition and everything. I mean, obviously there's no competition. To be honest with you, I don't know who Xavier Jones is. They have a rookie running back that I'm just learning about named Jake Funk, and their fourth string running back
did he come? Is that Utah? Where did that guy come from? Jacob Funk. I'm trying to get my college brain out now.
He came from Maryland.
Washington?
Maryland? Yeah, he came from Maryland.
Maryland.
But either way,
Maryland. I liked him there.
I mean, either way, I
liked him in Maryland.
I would be absolutely surprised. I would be so surprised if the Rams don't sign another running back before the actual season starts. Like I don't even know who's still out there. They're not going to reunite with Todd Gurley. I think we know that. I would like to see that, but
Jordan Howard, is he out there?
Not going to happen. They're going to sign someone, and anyone who's drafting Darrell Henderson as he's RB25 here, so he's either a top-notch RB3 or a bottom-tier RB2 for some people. If you're using Darrell Henderson as your RB2, these next few weeks, you just wait for the notification to go off that the Rams signed another guy.
Yeah, exactly. It's tough, right? Because you figure he's going to lead the backfield, but now you feel like, especially with the way Sean McVay is, it's Shanahan, it's that type of offense. It feels like now he's just going to go to that Belichickian Shanahan type of running back by committee deal. I know that we got an update that it says that's going to they're going to use running back by committee, but I just assume that they're going to roll with whoever's hot. If Xavier Jones gets hot one game, then I think they're going to use him, type of situation.
So I just looked up a list of free agent running backs, and here are, I mean, Le'Veon Bell's still out there. Obviously, he didn't really do much with the Chiefs, but that's actually a really enticing option. And then a guy like Duke Johnson or even TJ Yeldon to come in and take away literally all of the third down possibilities for Darrell Henderson. I mean, there's actually a pretty long list of guys whose names that I actually know in free agency. But I feel like no one's talking about it. Le'Veon Bell could land in Rams.
I think they could bring in Le'Veon Bell and Yeldon and just cut those other two guys.
They really could. Because, I mean, think about it. Le'Veon Bell, he wasn't excellent with the Chiefs, and he was talking shit on Andy Reid, which is probably not good for his future NFL chances. Right. But he's still too good not to be signed. And I mean, now that I just remembered who Le'Veon Bell was, this kind of seems like I'll be surprised if it doesn't happen at this point.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy. We forget how short that shelf life is for starting running backs. They're world beaters 1 year, and Jesus, we're looking at Le'Veon Bell, and a couple years later, the dude's not even signed at this point. Xavier Jones is intriguing to me at that ADP because honestly, in the end of the 15th, early 16th, what else are you going to do? So you're taking a dart throw at a guy who he might even end up getting some bulk carries in some games. So I honestly think, based on ADP, which one of these guys would I rather have? Give me Jones.
Wow.
Do you know who he is?
No. But that's the thing. It's it doesn't matter. On the waiver wire after week 1 or week 2, who are you typically cutting? You're typically cutting that guy you took in the 15th, 16th. So if it doesn't pan out, it doesn't pan out. Whatever. You take your guy off the waivers. But let's just say you don't run into injuries or whatever. In week 3 or 4, all of a sudden Jones pops off and ends up becoming like a Phillip Lindsay of sorts. You got a diamond in the rough for nothing.
Mikey, you look like you'd pull up in front of my house, throw a brick through the window, and then squeal off the tires while yelling something really mean to me.
Big haircut.
I'm not gonna answer that. I'm not gonna answer that. Just know I would never do that to you, DJ.
You look like it.
While we're on the topic of Mikey, what the hell's on your bed?
I don't know what you're talking about, Ben.
Oh, looks like a body pillow. My wife uses that.
Sounds good. Maybe it's DJ's wife's body pillow.
Or just body inside a pillow.
That's what I'm cheering for.
That's what I'm going to say next time I murder somebody and put them in a pillowcase. That's my body pillow.
I think that might hold up in court.
Yeah, it's just a body pillow.
Next time you murder, I like that you word it. Next time you murder somebody.
Got you right. I've never been caught.
GD, right. Let's move on to the wide receivers of the Rams. A couple of options here with very similar ADPs. Robert Woods as the 18th wide receiver off the board. Cooper Kupp is the 20th wide receiver off the board, with Woods going to the middle back end of the 4th round and Kupp going in the middle of the 5th. DJ, you are a Robert Woods, Bobby Trees, as the kids call him, truther to the day you die. Of these two guys, let me see your rankings here. So you've got Kupp at 19, and you've got Woods all the way up to 12. So I was going to say it's almost a toss-up for me, but you clearly are on Bobby Tree's side.
Robert Woods is my version of Mikey's Allen Robinson. I think this year, especially this year, he's already a PPR monster. He's going to be even more of that. Like, he's going to get peppered. Again, over the middle. Stafford loves throwing the ball over the middle. He's more accurate. He's better. He's just better than Jared Goff ever could just want to be. I can't wait to see I just can't wait to watch the Lions win 2 games. They're going to have the number 1 pick, whoever, and take, fucking Sam Howell or something like that. Doesn't matter. But I just think he's PPR-wise, he's just he might break a record. He might be Brandon Marshall type reception year. Like, I really do think he's going to have that many receptions. Probably anywhere from 4 to 6 touchdowns. I don't think he's a huge touchdown guy, but the receptions alone with the yards on top of that are going to put him in the top 12. He is my Allen Robinson right now with Matt Stafford.
Yeah, and Mikey, you're really close. You're a Kupp wide receiver 20. I'm sorry. You are your Kupp wide receiver 23 and your Robert Woods wide receiver 18. So you're essentially on the ADP for both of these guys. Do you have a strong preference between either one?
Yeah, Robert Woods, for sure. And I agree almost in verbatim with what DJ was saying. I don't think Robert Woods is going to, have 130, 140 receptions by any stretch of the imagination. It'd be fucking sweet if he did, because I drafted him a lot of places this offseason.
His ADP does bump up to wide receiver 15 when you look at PPR versus the half PPR.
I believe it. I really do, because he's been a top 15 PPR receiver every single year for the last 3 years, I'm pretty sure. Now he's got an upgrade at quarterback. If you look at his stats, ever since he came to the Rams, that team has unlocked him, right? Like, Robert Woods has been drawn up as the wide receiver 1 pretty much every single year that he's been with the Rams. And that's including the years with Cooper Kupp and Brandon Cooks sharing the field with him. Matt Stafford is a very, very obvious upgrade from Jared Goff. Matt Stafford's play style fits the bill really well with how they use Robert Woods. Admittedly, me having him at wide receiver 18, I feel like I'm almost too low. I don't know who I would put him above in my rankings, because I think we mentioned this, the past couple of weeks, where the receiving the receivers in the league are just so deep this year for fantasy that it's kind of hard to pinpoint your guys from like almost 12 to 24 pretty much in a row. But yeah, I'm on team Robert Woods all the way. Which is kind of surprising, because this time last year, I was definitely on team Cooper Kupp. I thought that, he was going to really have a breakout year and everything like that. And obviously it was just a disappointing year as a whole for the Rams. He is going to do much better this year than he did last year, especially with Matt Stafford throwing the ball. But I just really think Robert Woods is one of those underrated talents, and he's going to command the ball more than Kupp will.
So one of the things I do is when I do my rankings, I have like Robert Woods at a 12, and I'm drafting, I look at their ADP and I pay attention to what like wide receivers are going. And if my rankings are huge from that ADP, I'm obviously not going to take him as wide receiver 12, obviously, but I'm going to if I'm 10 spots higher than what he's actually getting drafted, I'm going to get that guy at some point in this draft. Like, I'm going to get that guy around early, because I have him so much higher valued that I can maybe take a running back here, and I can get Robert Woods, who I'm confident is going to take, who's going to be a, top 12 wide receiver as my second wide receiver. So that's, I think that's just a fantasy advice type of deal, but.
Yeah, and I don't know if everyone does it, because I kind of feel like I do the same thing as well. So I'm just wondering if that's like what people do that make their own rankings kind of do in their head, because I'm on the same board as you. I think when it comes down to these two, I would take either. I'm cool with their ADP. I like both of their outlooks. But if I had the choice, I would wait the round and take Kupp, honestly, over Woods. A couple of different reasons, because I was just like Mikey last year. I was so high on Kupp. I think 2 years ago, he might have led all receivers in touchdowns. Like, he had like 13. I don't remember the exact number. And then last year, I think he had 3 or 4. And I think he only had 1 like after week 5. Like, his touchdowns were non-existent. With Stafford, with that healthy offense, his touchdown numbers have nowhere to go but up. And with Akers getting hurt, he's going to even get more targets here. Go ahead, Mikey.
So that's the thing with Cooper Kupp is that he is definitely due for positive regression. I don't know why people call it that.
Doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, I don't understand why that's a term. he's due for some touchdown progression for sure. Because I mean, we know that Robert Woods isn't their touchdown guy. I do think Tyler Higbee is going to see more touchdowns as well this year. I mean, the passing touchdowns for the Rams last year was just down as a whole because Jared Goff was hot garbage last year and wasn't getting along with the coaches. But yeah, in 2019, Cooper Kupp had 94 catches, over 1,100 yards, and double-digit touchdowns. He had 10 touchdowns. Last year, very comparable numbers, 92 receptions instead of 94, 970 yards instead of 1,100. But the big discrepancy is he went from 10 touchdowns down to 3 touchdowns. Even if they split the difference and he goes up just to 6 or 7 touchdowns and he can hit that 1,000-yard receiving mark, he's definitely beating his ADP of wide receiver 20 at that point because he's seeing over 1,000 yards, over 90 receptions, and 6 or 7 touchdowns. And there's no reason to believe why he won't be able to do that with Matt Stafford.
All in on that. You said exactly what I wanted to say, but you had the numbers because you have better internet and you can load up more tabs than that one. So I appreciate you having my back there. DJ, did you have anything else you wanted to say on your man crush before we turn it over to the tight end portion of the Rams?
No, I just think, yeah, like Mikey said, I just believe that Robert Woods just fits the style of quarterback that Matt Stafford is. So I just feel like I just have this gut feeling that those two are going to gel really well. But legitimately, I have Stafford for MVP, Super Bowl champion, LA Rams, and fucking over 10.5 wins for these guys. I'm like, I think they can win 13 easy.
All in, man. Hope you don't curse them, man. You already got Stafford whacking thumbs on helmets.
Hey, they're not getting injured this year.
Better not.
Just Cam Akers.
After Akers.
Already injured one. For the love of Stafford.
Mikey alluded to the tight end position here because he says he's a big Tyler Higbee fan. And Tyler Higbee is currently going as the 12th tight end off the board. I've got him at 16. Mikey's got him at 9. And DJ, for the millionth episode in a row, has Eva Mendez as the only tight end worth ranking. So with that, Mikey, you've already alluded to it a little bit. But if you are waiting for a tight end, honest to God here, would you be cool rolling with Tyler Higbee as your tight end 1 if you're taking him in the middle of the 10th?
Yeah, I would. If I'm punting the tight end position, Tyler Higbee's the exact guy that I'm going for. I hinted to this last week. Those tight ends between tight end 8 and tight end 16 were all within 10 points of each other. So at that point, all you're doing is you're pretty much just drafting for the guy with the highest amount of upside. And in my opinion, between that range, Tyler Higbee is among the top 2 or top 3 of those guys. We saw the breakout happen at the end of 2019. He went on a 5-game spree. It was 48 catches, 522 yards, and 2 touchdowns. And I'm going to keep going back to it. That was Jared Goff. That wasn't Matt Stafford. Matt Stafford actually played pretty well with TJ Hawkinson last year. I think it's a total false narrative that Matt Stafford doesn't like his tight ends.
I don't think it's false. I think it's that he likes to air the ball out, so he likes to go outside the numbers. Big arm boy.
I think that Tyler Higbee is probably going to be the best red zone target.
Downfield, I should say.
I think Tyler Higbee is probably the best red zone target that Matt Stafford's had outside of Calvin Johnson and Kenny Golladay. Tyler Higbee is a hell
guys.
Yeah. But Tyler Higbee is a hell of a red zone target. I think he's going to put up a lot of touchdowns, and I think he's going to get a lot more just general looks than a lot of people think he's going to. A lot of people are so sour on him right now because we saw what he did at the end of 2019, and then he kind of disappointed in 2020. But the whole Rams offense disappointed in 2020. So if we're banking on Cooper Kupp bouncing back, if we're banking on Robert Woods doing what he's doing, if we're buying stock into Darrell freaking Henderson just because Cam Akers went down, and we say Matt Stafford is going to completely elevate this offense, there's no reason to believe why Tyler Higbee can't be the best of those, tier 2/tier 3 tight ends.
Here's the thing. If you want a fucking example of what Matt Stafford type numbers can be, look at what Aaron Rodgers did with Matt LaFleur. Like, it's the exact same situation. He's not as talented as Aaron Rodgers, but he's really fucking good. And then he gets to play within an offense where it's a lot of the same shit off of it's a lot of weird shit off of one motion, and you just play within that offense, and lots of guys just come open. Stafford's going to have that type of thing. Look at Robert Tonyan. I mean, to your Higbee point, guy was number 3 tight end in that offense with Aaron Rodgers. He's not any more talented than Tyler Higbee. So it's just going to raise up everybody because they have this talent, this quarterback who is a ridiculous talent that we haven't got to see with a good coaching staff, a good defense, a good offensive line, anything good ever in his career. And now he's getting that opportunity to play with a good coach, with an offense that opens up itself, that made Jared Goff almost like we all doubted ourselves in the year 1 of Jared Goff and then realized that, yeah, he actually does suck. What can Matt Stafford do to all these weapons now? It's just going to just make them higher. It's almost going to mirror Aaron Rodgers probably 2020 numbers or 2019, maybe his first year with LaFleur.
Yeah, and one more thing before I let you take over on Tyler Higbee, Ben. We mentioned that Cam Akers went down with injury. I think that only helps Tyler Higbee's touchdown upside, to be completely honest with you, because I think Cam Akers had a hell of a lot more red zone upside in the receiving game and the ground game, but that's besides the point. He had a hell of a lot more red zone upside than Darrell Henderson does. If they're going to be looking for any of those dink and dunk passes in the red zone, it's going to be to Tyler Higbee. So I think that we saw Robert Tonyan, like you mentioned, DJ, last year with Aaron Rodgers and that style of offense. We saw Robert Tonyan put up whatever. We saw him put up double-digit touchdowns, and I think that's definitely a possibility with Tyler Higbee this year, which is why I'm more than comfortable. If I'm punting the position, I'm probably going to be taking Tyler Higbee in a lot of places.
I'll probably still wait on Evan Ingram.
You would. I want to take my time during the tight end position to ask DJ one question, because he doesn't rank tight ends, and because the number 114 overall player in fantasy drafts is Higbee. The number 117, so going 3 positions later, is Robert Tonyan. DJ, since you don't rank tight ends, you're on the clock and you're picking between Higbee and Tonyan. I don't even want reasoning. I want the name. Give me Higbee or give me Tonyan.
Big Bobby. Wow. All day. It's not even close. It's not even close. Is that literally where he's going?
Yeah, they're right next to each other in ADP.
He should be going 10 spots.
I do feel like it might not be adjusted with Aaron Rodgers returning. Because
that's true.
Because all offseason people were really souring on Tonyan because Aaron Rodgers wasn't going to be around. But with Aaron Rodgers in there and with him in his last dance with Green Bay, you kind of get the feeling that Aaron Rodgers is going to probably see at least similar numbers to what he did last year. Yeah. And if that's true, then you can expect – I don't know if I would expect double digits from Tonyan.
No, but it's still going to be top 10 numbers.
7 or 8 touchdowns seems very in the realm of possibilities.
What's the record for most passing touchdowns in a season? 50 –
Is it 50?
I think it's 50.
Oh, okay. Rodgers will throw 50, like 3 to this year. Like, I'm confident.
Yeah. Yeah, you're probably right on that one.
That's crazy. Yeah,
Tonyan's his ADP is gonna jump up as more data collected.
Yeah,
you're right. Bad question. My bad. Before we move on to the 49ers portion, DJ, I mentioned off air that I'm considering making a trip to Madison this weekend. And I think if I do make that trip, I'm probably going to bring my Mangrate with.
Oh, yeah?
Because you can get that on mangrate.com right now. And if you use promo code LOADED, you get 25% off of grates and brushes. But what I need you to experience, because you pump some good food out through the grill. You've given me steaks before that have been good, and you really hype up some things. But I think if you got to use this Mangrate, you're not going to have to worry about anything sticking, because that thing doesn't stick. You're not going to have to worry about any flame up, because that reduces flame up. You're not going to have to worry about moving the steaks from one part of the grill to the other, because that thing heats evenly. So DJ, I think this weekend I might have to carve out some time, bring the Mangrate over to your house, and maybe we'll give it a rip. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, if we do some chicken for sure, man, that shit, nothing worse than the chicken, pulling it up and just leaving chicken on my grill grate. It's so frustrating than having to fucking clean that off.
I told you guys in our Loaded Box DM earlier today that chicken is the vessel for spices and sauces, because spices and sauces make it. Chicken is just a good vessel for that to get into your mouth. Am I right?
Exactly. Yeah, I almost never eat chicken plain. Like, why am I just going to make a grilled chicken? I'm going to put
never do
a bunch of shit on there.
No, you can't do it. We feed my 1.5-year-old child that just because we don't want to give her like seasoned chicken and then be like, oh shit, I'm never having normal chicken again. So leave that for the freaking toddlers. Go to mangrate.com, get your grates, get your brushes, get 25% off of those using promo code LOADED. And as Mikey scratches his bald head, we're going to move on to the San Francisco 49ers.
Hey, Mikey.
Go ahead, DJ.
Mikey, you look like a guy who would tell me to shut up and dribble.
Awkward transition. A quarterback here with an interesting ADP is the San Francisco's quarterback, Trey Lance. He's going as the 21st quarterback off the board. Me and DJ talked about this in a previous podcast. I think when we were talking about Justin Fields, how we had him ranked lower just because, hey, if he's named starter, we'll bump him up. So right now, me and DJ have him at quarterback 32 and 35. Mikey, you're right on board there, though, with the quarterback 20. Explain a little bit of your reasoning as to why you fall in line with where the actual ADP is. And are you comfortable drafting him? Because he's going right now in the 11th round, kind of at that turn, 11th and 12th. Is he worth a spot there, or are you just going to be like, nah, he'll be on the waivers later?
No, I'm drafting him if I can as my quarterback too. And here's the thing. I don't have him as QB 20 because I think he's going to finish with the 20th most points on the season. I have him as QB 20 because it seems like fair value, and it looks like that's reflected in the ADP, which is kind of cool to see that. The thing with him is that he's going to take this job from Jimmy Garoppolo sooner than later. I would say at the very latest, it's going to be like week 4. Because if Jimmy Garoppolo loses one game for the 49ers, that's it. That's it. That's all it's going to take. And that's assuming he even makes it to week 1 as the starter. I mean, Trey Lance is apparently not practicing with the ones right now.
Did you see what came out today, though?
Yeah, his 50-yard touchdown or whatever it was.
Yeah, and I guess he took some snaps with the one, and there was a report that he was 13 for 13 until the final throw of practice. He threw a deep bomb, and it was missed.
I believe it. He is really, really good. I mean, he was nearly perfect in college. Like literally 0 interceptions over an entire season. He had over 1,000 yards rushing that same season. He put up very decent enough passing statistics. I mean, you take into account that he is a phenomenal runner on the ground. That's going to fit the bill perfectly in San Francisco. That is something that they've been missing from their game since they got Jimmy Garoppolo. Is they haven't had a true mobile quarterback, which Trey Lance is going to open up a shit ton of things for the field. You also take into account that he's got George Kittle, who is a top 2, top 3 tight end in the entire league. You have Brandon Ayuk, who had a nice little rookie season, and you have Deebo Samuel, who, if he's healthy, he's pretty damn good. You combine all of that together. He's got good weapons. He's got the mobility. He is everything that you could want in an upside fantasy quarterback. So I'm taking him. I'm taking him with confidence as the 20th quarterback off of the boards right now. And to be completely honest, I think I said this about Justin Fields when we talked about the Bears. Trey Lance is going to have potentially league-winning upside towards the end of the season because of that mobility, because of the rushing upside, and just the phenomenal weapons that he has. So, yeah, I absolutely love him as his ADP is QB 21.
So here's my worry, Mikey, and it's a legitimate worry. So what's happening? Am I having a stroke? So let's say Jimmy Garoppolo does start week 1. They have a bunch of guys returning on defense that they didn't have last year. They have an offense that's obviously pretty successful with not a lot of talent. What if they're just 4-0, 5-0, 6-1? Like, they get to that point where Garoppolo doesn't have to do much, but they're winning with Garoppolo, and Trey Lance is a rookie. You're not putting him in that point. So the only way I'm comfortable drafting Trey Lance is if he's named starter pre the season. Because I'm not touching him in a redraft at all if he's not named starter, if Jimmy Garoppolo is the starter, I just can't touch it because San Francisco is good enough to win a bunch of games with Garoppolo at it. And why would you take him out at that point? Like they don't need to.
And do you want to roster 2 quarterbacks if one of them's a backup?
Right. For me, for redraft, it doesn't make any sense. Here's the other thing I want to say is my favorite thing is the sleeper app where me and Ben, I think that's what we text each other most about is when we get just useless notifications on it. But like when I saw the text of Shanahan saying, I can't see a way where he does start, it almost seems like he's starting to leak towards the other way. I'm like, Trey Lance is 100% going to be starting week 1. This feels like Russell Wilson almost all over again.
Right.
Here's the thing. I'm not worried about that whatsoever. And
why?
Because listen, they're playing against a guy. Listen, shut the fuck up. In week 1, they're playing against Detroit. Jimmy Garoppolo is keeping his job. In week 2, they're playing against Philly. Jimmy Garoppolo is keeping his job. Week 3, they have Green Bay. Week 4, they have Seattle. Week 5, they have Arizona. If Jimmy Garoppolo keeps his job by the end of week 5, then fuck, he deserves it. He's not going to keep that job against Green Bay, against Seattle, and against Arizona. He's not, because one of those games, at the very least, and it's probably going to be as soon as that Green Bay game, one of those games, he's going to look like shit. They're going to lose the game. They're going to find a way to blame him in any way, shape, or form, and they're going to get Trey Lance in there. Like you were saying, I think it's highly possible that he even is on the field by week 1. But in my opinion, looking at the early schedule, and then they have the bye in week 6, which the bye week is always, a turning point for rookie quarterbacks and shit like that. The schedule is almost perfectly lined up to get Trey Lance on that field by at least week 7 at the latest.
DJ, you know how I'm going to end up with Trey Lance in at least one league?
No.
In the live, one of the few live drafts that we actually do where it just turns into a party and we get just shit-faced on that Labor Day weekend, I'm going to drink so much that Mikey just talked me into it, and I'm going to throw a dart, and I'm going to get Trey Lance because I'm hammered. If
he's not starting week 1, I'm not drafting him anywhere.
I really think that's a mistake. I really do, because would you agree that he's probably going to be starting at some point this season?
I can't, because I think San Francisco has the talent to literally just be like, we're 6-1, we're 7-2, and you know what? We like Jimmy as our quarterback right now, and the guys lead him. Let's let him finish off the season, see what happens as a leader. And Trey Lance is back in the next year, and he's their starting quarterback. That's where I get. That's where my hesitation lies. It's just that this team is about their defense and their run game. Garoppolo isn't a huge part. Obviously, he's going to be the reason they lose maybe in a couple of games. And if that does happen, where it's those big games and they're like, fuck, we can't win the big game without him, then yeah. But I don't see that happening. I'm not going to roster a backup quarterback that I have no idea if he's going to touch the field in the year if he's not starting week 1.
Well, I'll tell you this right now. Maybe this is a little off topic. I don't know. But week 17 is going to be fantasy championships this year, right? Because of the 18-week thing. There's bye weeks in week 14. So most people are going to be having a championship in week 17. If Trey Lance is the starting quarterback, he gets to go against the Houston Texans in week 17. So he will win you your league if he's playing.
He may be the definition of a league winner. It's funny because I've talked about this before on like certain episodes. I'm the hybrid between you guys again here because I'm with DJ on the ranking. Like I can't fathom picking a backup quarterback until he's named the starter. But to Mikey's point, man, with that rushing upside and like the fantasy upside that Trey Lance brings, because we can all agree that Trey Lance's fantasy upside is up here for you audio people, my hands high, and Jimmy Garoppolo's is down here, and for you audio people, my hand is low. We just know
up here and down here gave it away too.
Yeah, I know, but I wanted to emphasize it and really explain it when it's already been explained.
Gotcha.
That's how it goes. Let's talk about some running backs on this team. Because they've got Raheem Mostert, who's going as the running back 28, and they've got Trey Sermon as the running back 39. A lot of interesting things going on with this. I don't know. I haven't been following this whole Raheem Mostert Twitter thing, but it kind of seems like he's like blowing up on like media people who are, I don't know. Like I saw one thing where there was like a graphic about like, oh, the 49ers are on the up and up. They got all these weapons. And then Mostert was like left off of this graphic. And he's like, haha, you forgot somebody. And it's like, there were people trolling him saying, "Oh, it's Trey Sermon's backfield and all this stuff." So I don't know what's going to go on there, but all I know is I remember an episode we did last year, and I was sky high on Raheem Mostert, and you guys ended up being more right on that. So honestly, this backfield, how it played out last year with just a new person getting carries, whether it was Jeff Wilson, Raheem Mostert, whoever it was, it scares me. I don't know exactly what's going to happen with this. So if I'm looking at ADPs, Raheem Mostert in the 6th in a platoon situation feels way too early to me. So of the two, I like Trey Sermon in the middle of the 9th a lot more than Raheem Mostert. And I think DJ agrees. He's shaking his head. DJ, why do you agree with that?
No, I do too, but there's no team that confuses me more in fantasy football than the San Francisco 49ers. I have no fucking idea. I went through and ranked these people, and I have zero confidence in anybody zero. Running backs, wide receivers, I just don't know. I feel like they're so evenly distributed with running backs and wide receivers that I'm like, I don't know what the fuck to do here. Like, I just don't know. So I think
how I can tell is because you have Raheem Mostert as your running back 24 and you put Sermon at 26. So you might as well have him in the same spot.
Because I don't know. I just have no fucking clue. So I just put them next to each other. And I'm like, well, one of them's going to be there. So I just got to put them close. Yep. But I don't know who's going to do it. I know Mikey famously hates Trey Sermon. I like him. I'm a big fan. He doesn't have a lot of miles. He finally busted out to what we thought he was going to be. But it's the hot hand thing. I don't think Raheem Mostert's going away, but I just don't fucking know. So I just ranked them both high.
Fair enough. The thing
low high.
The thing with right up here and right way down here.
Yeah, exactly.
The thing with where
Mikey's
Mikey has him though, and I think Mikey might be having a stroke. Did he like black out?
Can you still hear me?
Yes, sir.
My camera is like freaking out right now for some reason.
Tell people that you're actually just naked and you don't want to show it on YouTube.
Oh, of course. I gotta keep it PG.
There you go. The thing with DJ brought up Mikey's ranking, but even though he might be a little bit low on Sermon as like an NFL draft prospect when we were going through that process, he's more in line with the ADP for Sermon because his ADP for Sermon matches up perfectly versus where you have Raheem Mostert ranked, you want no part of that. So I think you're kind of on that Sermon kick as well, if at all, Mikey.
Yeah, I got to be honest. I don't like Trey Sermon.
Not even in the 9th, though?
No, I won't. I won't own any running back for the San Francisco 49ers whatsoever. I like Raheem Mostert. I do. The issue is that he can't stay healthy. He is obviously incredibly fast. He is a big play waiting to happen every time he touches the ball. We've seen that over the last couple of years, but he can't stay healthy. Right. Trey Sermon, I saw a statistic where it was like his 4-year college production, 18% of it came over those 2 weeks where he just played like a madman. And you can't discount that. I mean, he had 2 massive borderline record-setting weeks in college. Like he looked amazing. Yeah. But during my rookie process where I'm doing all of my research and everything like that, there was never a single day where I had Trey Sermon rated anything good in anywhere. I hate the way he runs. I hated his vision. I hated pretty much every single thing about his game. And I wasn't going to let those 2 games really change it. I mean, admittedly, I did bump him up a bit in my rankings once I saw that he was capable of doing it. But 82% of his college career was mediocre at best. And I want no part in it. And I'm not going to be taking him in the 9th round. If I had to bank on one of these guys finishing higher this year, it's going to be Raheem Mostert. And that's me even saying that, knowing that he has health issues.
Yeah. I think one of the biggest things about like the way we do these podcasts, it's kind of like, these are our opinions. This is where we're drafting people. And I think I can look at these 2 guys and say, there's no chance that in the 6th round, I'm comfortable taking Mostert. Whereas in the 9th, I might kick the tires on Trey Sermon. Like that's the best I can give you. It's not like I'm like, yep, I'm 100% slam dunk. Trey Sermon's the guy in that backfield. You have to take him. Maybe even in the 8th, early 9th. I'm not going that far. I would maybe try it in like a league, but I'm not overwhelmed by either of these guys to say, yes, you have to draft either of them. Agreed. Good.
Yeah, I know. I agree. I just hate when you say kick the tires and things like that, like really old expressions.
Sorry, I don't want to do that, but man, we're getting old. That's just what we do.
No, I'm 28, but I'm not overly sold on either one myself. Like I don't know. Maybe I'll take off. He's the 10 guy to take a flyer in one out of the 3-4 leagues that I'm in and redraft, but. I'm talking about fucking Trey. What's his name? Trey Sermon.
Too many Treys on this team.
Too many Treys on this team. I feel like he's just left, and it's really just throwing me off. Like he's muted and his video's gone, so now I'm all fucked.
It is. Back in the day, we would have been fine because we didn't see each other. Well, he's unmuted now, so now you're good.
I fixed it. Yeah, I literally was like crawling behind my computer. I had to unplug this and plug it back in. It was terrible.
Let's get that on video. While we transition to the wide receiver room here, because it's an interesting room. It's a young room, especially the ones that are fantasy relevant here. You got Brandon Ayuk going as the wide receiver 26 after a nice rookie season. And you got Deebo Samuel, who put together a very nice rookie season, then was basically banged up last year going as the wide receiver 34. DJ, one of the things that sticks out about this is your ranking on Deebo Samuel. You got him more than the consensus by a lot. Mikey's right on par with the ADP at 34. I'm higher. I like him a lot. I got him at 29. You got him at 48. Why? Not even the hate for Deebo, but why does it look like you're not going to end up with Deebo on any of your fantasy rosters?
I just have no fucking clue. That's what it comes down to. I just don't know. Like, I was like, Ayuk had a good year. I'll put him up here. He looks like a good wide receiver, but I don't know. That's the Garoppolo, part of Garoppolo, part of Trey Lance. I don't understand this team. It confuses me. I don't know who's going to be successful. I don't know who's going to put up numbers. I know Deebo Samuel does touch the ball a lot in a lot of different ways, Curtis Samuel style. So I probably have him too low. But when it comes down to it, I just kept seeing guys that I'm like, I kind of like them a little bit more.
Yeah.
So honestly, it's just lack of knowledge when it comes to Deebo Samuel. I'm not even going to lie at this point.
And I don't even know if it's lack of knowledge. It's just like, how do these guys not even coexist, but like, what's this team going to do? It is the lack of just knowledge as to what's going to happen. It's not lack of knowledge of him as a player. It's like, what the hell are the 49ers going to do?
Yeah, I'm just not comfortable.
It's weird because I was kind of anti-Deebo right away. I'm like, this looks like a guy that's going to get like the quick jet pop passes. He's going to get screens and go. He's an on-the-ground receiver. He's not making these contested catches. But, man, go back and watch his rookie tape.
He is a freak.
Dude made plays on, like, every single level of the field, short, medium, long. Like, he was constantly doing it. And I like Ayuk. Like, Ayuk, it's funny. I was thinking about this before we started. Like, watching an Arizona State game a couple of years back, I'm like, man, this Ayuk guy is going to be someone to watch. And I loved him throughout the draft process. And then he crept into the first round. I'm like, oh, my God, all these guys are super high on him. And then the fantasy community was like, oh, man, we love Brandon Ayuk. And it's showing. He's going as the wide receiver 26. So part of me is like, I almost don't like him as much anymore because I feel like I was early to the party and I was there. And now I'm like, yeah, I'm going to fade him. Kind of like one of your strategies, DJ. Everyone's on him. I'm going to go the opposite way. So I kind of feel the same way about these wide receivers. I love Brandon Ayuk. But if you're going to make me take him at 609, or if you're going to give me Deebo at the end of the 7th, early 8th, I sort of lean Deebo. Mikey, how do you feel?
Yeah, I'm leaning Deebo in that situation too. I mean, honestly, I'm much lower on Brandon Ayuk than a lot of people. I have him as wide receiver 31, and to be honest, the only reason why I have him that high is because I feel like I'm obligated to have him that high.
Right. That's
there are players like that, though. You're like, oh, I still have him on the board. I got to slot him in somewhere.
That's the thing. I was like, well, I'm low on him, but I can't possibly bump him down any more than a mid-range wide receiver 3. Like, I don't know. Like, with Brandon Ayuk, like, yeah, he had a good rookie season, but, like, George Kittle wasn't on the field. Deebo Samuel wasn't really on the field.
Forget about that.
They had absolutely nothing going on with their running backs. Jimmy Garoppolo was barely on the field. Like, It was just one of those things where Brandon Ayuk was the only healthy starting player on that offense. Like, I think people are way overreacting, thinking that he's like the second coming of Jesus for the 49ers. Like, Deebo Samuel is really, really good. Ben, like you were saying, Deebo commands targets. He makes plays everywhere. Not only that, but he is an on-the-ground receiver at the same time. They do draw up screen plays for him. They do let him take the jet sweep. His rookie year, he had 14 rushing attempts. 3 of them he converted for touchdowns. Even last year, when he barely saw the field over the course of the entire season, he still had 8 or 9 attempts on the ground. Like, he has legitimate, I don't want to say legitimate rushing upside, but he's going to sneak in a touchdown or 2 if he plays a full season on the ground. Not to mention, if they do transition to Trey Lance sooner rather than later, which is a part of my rankings here, Deebo Samuel is a guy that you can trust in short yardage situations. And he is like, with the exception of George Kittle, Deebo Samuel is like the absolute perfect target for Trey Lance to go when he needs to be bailed out, because that's the kind of receiver that Deebo Samuel can be. So in my opinion, when I revisit my rankings right before the season in a couple of weeks, as long as Deebo has made it through training camp without getting hurt, Deebo might actually be higher for Brandon Ayuk for me.
I'm thinking about now. I'm upset because I'm thinking about the games that he played against Green Bay and the games that I've watched him play, and he just doesn't fucking go down. He either tiptoes in bounds or he runs, legitimately just runs through people. Like, when he has the ball in his hands, he has the ability to score at any point. And when I watch him, just thinking back now, I'm having memories back to just watching him and nightmares. Thinking how the fuck, it almost reminds me sometimes of Alvin Kamara and his balance when he has the ball in his hands. It's ridiculous. He has sneaky lower body strength where he just has really good contact balance. Like, at contact, he just finds a way to stay up and make plays after having the ball in his hand, whether it's a catch or handing the ball off to him. And now I'm very frustrated because I actually remember being in love with his style of play. Reminded me of myself back in 8th grade, so it just couldn't be tackled.
The thing with Deebo, though, is his injury history. So I know last year he had that foot fracture, but he also I just pulled up his injury history. He also had hamstring injuries. Back in 2016, hamstring injuries. Back in 2015, hamstring injuries.
Reminds me of myself.
2017, he broke his leg. 2019, he had a groin strain. He is incredibly talented. But there is an off chance that he might be one of those injury-prone guys. And to be honest, that's it. When I was factoring into my rankings, I think the only reason why I didn't put Deebo ahead of Brandon Ayuk in these rankings is because I was remembering the injury factor. But if Deebo's on the field, he's fucking fantastic.
And the beautiful thing is, too, you're basically drafting him as a low-end wide receiver 3 versus if you're taking Ayuk, he's likely a low-end wide receiver 2 or a very high-end wide receiver 3. So there's more pressure that he needs to be in your lineup, and you need him to succeed. And we got a small sample size on both of these guys. I think both of them are going to be fine. And I agree with what you said, that if Trey Lance is there, both of these guys can be fine. They're both going to be fantasy relevant. But man, if I got to choose between them at their current ADPs, I would wait the round plus and I would take Deebo. Let's go on to the last position for the 49ers. That's the tight end, a fairly obvious one here. He's got the ADP as the tight end 2 off the board, going as the 2nd pick in the 3rd round. Mikey, you have him as the tight end 2. I actually have him as the tight end 3 because I go Kelsey, Waller, Kittle. But we've talked about this on a previous episode as well. I am not opposed this year to doing a running back, tight end start to a draft and just seeing how it goes. And honestly, Kittle would be in that conversation. And then I think Kelsey's already gone. It's Kittle and Waller. And if I like Kittle, I like what he can bring. And I'll let you go against this one, Mikey. You can have the floor after this, but I'll take Waller over Kittle though. I think he's Kyle Pitts, right? He's the wide receiver that just happens to be designated with tight end.
Did you just compare an already proven veteran tight end to a guy who's never played a snap in the NFL?
I was like, what is that?
You were supposed to catch it. No,
you're an asshole.
No, I do find humor in that. What I kind of meant was the idea of a lot of people being like, well, Kyle Pitts is another wide receiver. You wait till the sleeper of my fantasy, make him a wide receiver versus a tight end. But that's the hybrid of the position. That's what we're seeing versus Kittle does a lot more inline stuff than what we can see out of a Waller or like in this case, a Kyle Pitts. Like they can line up outside. They don't look abnormal. It's part of their game. I just love the idea of what Waller can bring in that offense with less weapons and targets to take away from him than Kittle, who is an awesome tight end. I would have no issue with you ranking him number 2. But, man, he's got a lot more people coming for those targets than I think Waller does. So that's why I have Waller at 2, but you've got Kittle at 2.
Yeah, I'm not worried about the competition of targets. The only thing that's a red flag for me with Kittle is bouncing back from injury. He didn't play a full season last year. He only played a half season. He didn't play a full season in 2019, but he did only miss 2 games, and he still made the Pro Bowl.
I mean, catch touchdowns either.
Yeah, not as many as you'd expect. 2018 and 2019, when he played his, full seasons, 80 plus receptions, 1,000 plus receiving yards, he only had 5 touchdowns in each of those. And last year through 8 games, he was only on pace to get about 4 or 5 touchdowns again. So George Kittle is, I guess, surprisingly not the red zone monster that you'd like him to be. But at the same time, how many touchdowns is Jimmy Garoppolo or CJ Beathard or Nick Mullins, whoever the hell has been their quarterback over the last 3 years? Like, realistically, this is all banking on me being so high on Trey Lance. If Trey Lance is the quarterback sooner rather than later, there's more upside for the offense as a whole. George Kittle is going to see the most targets he saw was in 2018. He played a full season. He had 136 targets. Mikey is the best at fucking up names. Whose name did I fuck up now?
Everybody's.
Yeah,
CJ Beathard.
Beat hard. Whatever.
There you go.
I mean, George Kittle in George Kittle had 136 targets in 2018.
Is it Kittle or Kittle?
Shut the fuck up,
Greg.
I guarantee Kittle, if he plays the full 16 games, he'll set career bests in pretty much every single statistic. I mean, it's going to be hard for him to beat his 1,377 yards, but I think he can beat 136 targets. I know he can beat 88 receptions, and I damn well know he can beat 5 touchdowns. The biggest thing with him is just if he stays healthy. But if he does stay healthy, he's got just as much upside as Travis Kelce.
DJ, do you have I know you don't rank tight ends, and I know you're in none of your leagues. Will you end up with the likes of Kelce, with Kittle, with Waller?
Chance.
But let's put you on the spot. If you had to rank those top 3, are you on Team Ben or Team Mikey?
You liked Waller better than Kittle?
I do.
I think I'll go with Waller because I hate George Kittle's red hair and his face. It's just his whole look just makes me so angry, like so irrationally angry.
He's fucking cool, dude.
I don't think he's cool. I think he's kind of a douchebag.
No, I think he would fit it. He pounds beers.
No, I think he's a douche. Like he tries too hard, like to be cool, like type of deal.
That's Travis Kelce. He's the one with the TV shows and everything.
Yeah, he's a douche too. But like, I don't know. It's the hair flip and the swatter and all that shit. That long, red, thinning hair is just gross.
I like that you stayed on brand and gave a tight end ranking based on appearance versus on the field skill set.
Love to see a black man get paid.
Thank you, I think.
That was just a J. Cole line. Okay.
Mikey, it is hard to argue with what you said because, if Kittle stays healthy, he's going to be a top 2, top 3 tight end. I think Waller. I mean, dude, you have him in our dynasty league. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Yeah, I mean, there's more safety. There's definitely a bigger safety net in Darren Waller, and he's
league winner. Like, remember some of those weeks he put up after DJ was trying to trade him, and you text DJ and said, "Ha, you tried lowballing me. You just put."
I gave him my entire thing.
No,
he's top 4. Do you think he's top 4?
Who's top 4?
I was asking bad. You think he's top? You said top 2, top 3. You think he's top 4?
Might be, maybe top 4,
top 5.
I could see top 5.
Top 6.
All right, I'm gonna leave.
That's an homage to The Office, Mikey.
I knew Ben would catch on immediately. That's a nice Jim and Dwight bit there.
Yeah. Sorry.
Do you not watch The Office?
No.
Oh, I paid for Peacock if you want my sign-in.
No, thank you.
I paid for Peacock. Speaking of paying for streaming services, if any of you listeners out there have HBO, I'm really wanting to watch some Hard Knocks this year. Looks like DJ has it.
I have
using
everything. I've decided to buy everything that sports could potentially be on, just so I can't miss sports. I have ESPN Plus, I have Hulu, I have Amazon, I have fucking what we're just talking, Peacock. If there's a chance a sport can be on it, I'm buying it. I also have just cable because I just don't care.
Is this a sponsor for streaming services?
No, I have cable. I have it all.
Yeah, no kidding, man. You got all you just covered every single thing that's
I
hip.
can't
You
miss
have
a
YouTube?
game
You
that
got
I'm
YouTube
gambling
TV?
on. What?
YouTube TV?
Oh, I don't have YouTube. I have
You
a
know,
friend with
you're going to
YouTube
have to
TV.
get Amazon Prime because there's going to be Thursday night football games.
I already got it. Don't worry. We're good.
There you go. You're good.
In the books.
Sorry, I feel like Mikey was saying things earlier, but we started like the top 3, top 4, top 5 talk.
Oh, that was,
I don't even remember what I was saying. Either way, I mean, I'm not going to fault anyone for having Darren Waller as tight end 2. It's honestly with Kittle and Waller, it's such a toss up. It's just dealer's choice at that point. I think Kittle offers a bit of a higher upside, but Waller offers a much safer floor. So depending on what you're going for, I think you can choose between those two things.
legit coin toss. You're going to find people that are on both sides of that. No problem. So can't argue too much about that. Do either of you have anything that you would like to add? You guys are both like getting the microphone by your mouth ready for the ASMR ending of this podcast. But before we get to that, do you guys have anything else you would like to add to tonight's podcast episode?
I can't fucking wait to gamble on football. That's all I can think about with my life right now. I'm listening to every like college football podcast ever. I just can't wait to gamble and turn this into a gambling. I can't wait to do Friday Night Lights. I can't wait to be like, what? Tune into Friday Night Lights on Friday night at 6:00 at the end of our podcast in like 4 weeks. I can't wait.
I like that you have your own show that you name and
Lines.
you still call it wrong.
Friday Night Lines, sorry.
Every single time you talk about it.
Friday Night Lines.
There you go. Mikey, do you have anything else you'd like to add other than having a new racist haircut?
My haircut's not that racist. Come on now.
I'm just playing. Like I said, it's the same thing.
It's just buzzed, man.
I've looked at you the entire time and just worried. Like I've just been worried this entire time. Like
Well,
I've
you know what? I've made a pact that I'm not gonna cut it again until next August. So we'll see how that's looking.
A pact with who?
I can't wait.
Myself.
Oh, okay, fair enough.
Yeah, you like that?
Doesn't a pact have to be with somebody else? Like I don't.
No.
No,
No.
he's a pack of
I
one.
feel like by definition, it's like more than one person.
All right, DJ, I'm not gonna cut my hair till next August. Here's my pact.
Boom.
All right, then.
All right. Well, with that, you can find us on Twitter at Loaded Box. I don't have the thing up right now, so let me get to it.
All I do is watch the clock and make sure we go over an hour before I let Ben sign
I
off.
know you're a butthead. Check out our website, loadedboxpodcast.com. All of our podcast episodes, our articles, our redraft, our dynasty rankings, everything you need is there. Next episode, we'll be doing the same thing with 2 new teams. We're available everywhere. Subscribe, rate, review. DJ, Mikey, combination, one of you, whoever wants to, send us out.
Mikey, you go high, I'll go low. Bye.
Trap Trailer.
Bye.